Hey, what's good, everybody? Hope you guys are all well. I didn't really set up everything all nice to make this video, but I feel like I've been being pushed to do it. Let me just straighten. I don't know if the camera's straight. I think it is. But I've been being pushed to make this video, right? So that's why I wanted to do it. I spoke about it briefly in the last podcast interview I did, about how something tested me like on my birthday. So, just so people know, like, it doesn't matter how much love and light you are, this and that, you will be tested. That's part of the reason you're here. You can be the most centered person, the most love and light, the most all that. You're going to be tested, right? And different things, right? Sometimes it's just testing how you're going to react, attitude-wise. Are you going to get upset about something, this and that? Is it going to compromise your character? And obviously, you'll be in your own zone and someone will come into your little field of whatever and affect you, right? So mine, it was something like that, right? On my birthday, I try to think about it. There was really no reason it needed to happen. But, obviously it needed to happen, but there was no reason, I guess, for me logically, right? So obviously I had to figure out that it was spiritually. So I'll just get into it. So basically what happened was, on my birthday, I logged into one of my Instagrams that I hadn't been on in a while, because there's two friends on that one that have the same birthday as me. So I logged in just to tell them happy birthday. And as soon as I logged in, it was crazy. Like, I hadn't even gotten the chance to message them. As soon as I logged in, this girl that I had met from years, it's probably been like 6 years, right? That I had met, she messages me right away. I guess, they say, like, you're online. So she must have seen that I was online, and she messaged me right away, right? So, right when she messages me, she's like, hey, what's up, blah, blah. Do you remember me, kind of stuff or something? I was like, yeah. It had been, I know it was pre-pandemic. I think it had been like 6 years, something. It had been a while. And so, when I met her, I remember it was like, I was attracted to her. I was like, yeah, it's like, attraction-wise, like, I don't really have a type, but in one of those wide variety of types, like, she was perfect to me, right? Like, from a 1 to a 10, she was like a 15, right? And I think she asked me that, and I was like, wow. I didn't know how to respond. It was like, well, I guess her, like, I think she asked me, like, what was my type or something like that. But it was like, to me, it was like obvious. But, like they say, beauty is only skin deep, right? So as far as physically, like, I would be happy, like, it's important, obviously, like, to be attracted to someone. So physically, it's like someone that I would be attracted to, and I'd be cool with that. Like, if I was in a relationship even, right? So, all that. After, like, I think we messaged a few times. Then after, my brother passed, and then I kind of just lost contact with everybody, right? So anyways, I had just logged in, and, she messages me, hey, blah, blah. Then, like, if I want to hang out, and I'm like, all right, cool. And then it was like, then she comes off, like, basically it was like she was prostituting herself, right? Like, oh, well, this much. And I'm like, oh, shoot, oh, this is why that was crazy, because that morning I had this huge, like, probably one of the most profound dreams I had in a while, right? Like, the spiritual experience. I dreamed of the condor, and I guess, that's kind of what we made the whole last podcast about. Like, it was based on that dream about it's time, they're here, so something coming, something spiritual, and I don't think I had ever dreamed of the condor before. And obviously my brain went to the ego and the condor prophecy. And then, the person I interviewed in the last podcast, they found me because of that, and they had like a similar dream. So it was something very spiritual. So I woke up in that spiritual zone, but I was just gonna go tell, these friends happy birthday. And so I was in that headspace, and then this person comes at me with this. So instantly, thankfully, I was still in that spiritual headspace, right? Right after that happened, I called one of my spiritual friends, and I was like, man, you can't believe what just happened. So I told them about my spiritual experience. Then I told them about this experience with this, woman that was messaging me trying to, like, solicit sex or whatever, right? So I was like, well, I'll get into that right now. So I was telling a friend just, I guess to cover my tracks as well. So, I wasn't in that space anyways, but I'll get into why something, I was like, I don't want to be tempted. I don't want to nothing, right? But the funny thing was, then I told someone, so the spiritual person understood. Then I told someone in the physical sense, like someone, and they were like, well, I don't see nothing wrong with it. Like, oh, it's a need. And the funny thing is, yeah, I get it. Like humans, right? The first need out of all things, we crave to eat, right? Food, and second is sex. Like, that's the second thing we crave out of everything in the world, right? That humans crave, right? So number one is eating, and number two is sex. So, from a physical standpoint, I understood what this person was saying, and all that about prostitutes being the oldest profession and this and that. So they saw nothing wrong with it. It was like, hey, it's a need, blah blah. Like, I guess two consenting adults doing their thing. But I was just like, oh wow, I'm glad I had told my spiritual person too, because who knows, maybe someone trying to plant those seeds might have, if I wasn't aware of the spiritual, not that I would have been persuaded. Like I said, it's after I was just thinking all these things. I'm gonna get to that why. So anyways, so all that happened, right? And as the day progressed, like even by the end of the night, I was thinking like, damn, what if it was a gift? What if this person that is like as attractive as it gets and everything, it was a gift or something? And here's why. Because see, like, I hadn't been with somebody in a while too, right? And it was funny because I was working with a friend, and we were talking about relationship stuff, and I don't know, I think they asked me, or it came out, and they were like, what? Like, no way. Like, they couldn't believe it. And then I started thinking why, but it was like, I had hooked up with somebody. So obviously this is all dealing with sex, so I should have probably said that in the beginning, right? So if, if that's too adult, like, you could tune out. But hopefully, like, everyone that's watching me is more on the adult side, so you get it. So anyways, when my brother passed away, I had hooked up with somebody, right? And it was all a spiritual thing too, but it was clear after we hooked up, like, they were trying to get laid. Like, that was it, right? Like, this person was trying to get laid, and it was like, I guess they got more than they bargained for, because, we were on our first date when, I got the call that my brother passed away, but, it didn't really stop her, which was fine. Like, I know she was put in my life for a reason. She spent those couple days with me because, I mean, it was, I needed that, so that's why I had no resentment or nothing, right? But what happened was, like, so we hooked up and everything. Then after, like, it was crazy. The next week, I was blessed to know that there was a ceremony. So I went to ceremony. When I got out, it was that day we went in early for some reason. I saw that I had a missed call from her when I got out of the ceremony. I called her. Or I texted her first, I think, maybe to see if she was still awake. And then so I talked to her. And it was crazy. I guess she lived around the corner from her ex or something. And then that she was walking by. So that was even sketchy. Like, all right, you go walk by your exes. Whatever, it's fine. But then she's like, oh, we started talking. He comes out, we're talking. I guess he tries to hug her. I don't know what. But she straight out tells me, she's like, well, I still got to sleep with him one more time. I don't want to be with him, but I still got to sleep with him one more time. So I was like, wow, like, this girl was ruthless, like. So I kind of, I get an attitude. Even though we're nothing, like, we just hooked up and we just really kind of met. I had probably started talking to her a couple weeks before we hooked up. But just because of the circumstances, right? Like, my brother had just passed away. This girl had no, like, as cold as they come with that, right? Like, wow. So it was clear she was just using me to get over the ex, right? I don't know if he had hooked up with other girls or what. So she was just trying to get laid. You know, women do the same thing as men. In case, you know, newsflash, right? In case you guys didn't know. So, and that was fine, but it was just the coldness of it, right? But I knew that if in those immediate days when my brother's death, like I know, like that was a blessing to have somebody there with me, right? So I never looked at it like I didn't hold any resentment towards her because she helped me, and even more, it's a lot deeper than that spiritually and everything. But then the callousness, the coldness. So after that experience, I guess for that, like I just wasn't interested in nothing, right? I was just focused on, I guess, grieving for my brother. So after that, you know, because yeah, we stopped talking after that. Basically, it was like, you know, what do you say to that? Like to a girl that you're talking to, and then it's like, well, I still got to sleep with my ex one more time. Just, you know, the psychological stuff, you know, whatever. And then so after that, I was just grieving my brother. So that whole year, you know, I wasn't trying to hook up with nobody. The next year, pandemic. So I wasn't, you know, everyone was kind of like, if you weren't already with someone, you kind of weren't really trying to go get sick or nothing, right? So then that year came by. Then, you know, in 2021, it was all about working. By then, it was like, you know, so that whole year, it was paying off bills. Like, you know, I'm debt free now. So the peace of mind that brings you, I can't even. So anyone that doesn't, you know, I didn't want to live this life owing this, owing that, you know. So I focused everything. I was already on that groove. So it was like, you know, just work. 2021, things were opening up. So everything paid off, everything I owed. All my credit cards, car, everything just boom, boom, boom. You know, so it was a year of that. Just boom, paying everything off, right? So then that happened, you know, on the birthday, right? Like it was crazy, right? So it was like, at first no, because I was still in the spiritual zone, but then after, I guess it starts kind of creeping in, right? Especially after someone had told me like, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with it," and then I started thinking, well, what if, you know, the spirit world or universe was like, "Hey, here, you know, have some fun. You know, you've been focused these last 3 years. Here's a little gift on your birthday," right? So I started thinking like that, but then, you know, it got a little deeper because then I analyzed everything. So I was like, you know, and you know, she was really not charging like a lot, which was sad. You know, so my head even was, I felt bad for her, right? Like, beautiful girl, like, could be a model, could be an actor. Like, she would have asked me like, "Oh, hey, how do I get into acting or something?" I would have told her like, "Hey, this is what you do." Like, damn, you know what I mean? So she could, but you know, some people, I guess, like that quick money, right? So, you know, she could do modeling, she could be an actress, this is just everything, right? Sky's the limit. I know people don't want to think that, but yeah, I mean, people do get away with their looks for certain. I mean, of course, they gotta build from there, but people can do certain things, right? Whether you want to agree to it or not. But anyways, so, you know, I felt bad like about what had happened, but then it got deeper because it was like, okay. Then I thought about it, like, for anyone that knows about the tarot cards, right? It's like, you know, the Gemini, and it was like, you know, I guess my birthday's on the epitome of a Gemini, right? It's the 6 and the 9, right? So, you know, it looks like perfect balance, right? The 6 is this way, the 9 is this way, so it's like a perfect balance kind of thing, right? And if you look at a tarot card, it's like, it has the two people, you know, male, female, and male and female, and then it's kind of like an angel or something, and it's like, but I actually heard that it does represent choices, right? It actually does represent choices originally. I think they make it mean something now, like it's just the perfect card, the lovers, blah blah, but that originally it did mean choices, right? And it's the 6th card, so it's the 6th card, it's number 6. Then, you know, this girl happened to be a Capricorn. In the tarot, the Capricorn, the card is the devil. So that's where I was like, oh, what? Like, damn, the devil, you know, the temptation, right? Like, and it's card number 15, which adds up to 6. So they say that the Gemini is exactly the opposite, because if you look at the Gemini card and the devil card, the devil also has 2 figures, but they look more like demons, right? Like, they've been, you know, and they're chained to the devil. They're chained up to the devil. So they're in bondage, right? They're chained up to the devil, and the devil's holding a torch. You know, he has the as above, so below thing. and he's holding a torch, and on the guy it's like he's lighting his tail on fire. So I thought diseases wise, I thought like that song from Ice Cube. There's this song where a guy goes to the clinic and he's trying to see, he's like, hey, I want to see a doctor, and the nurse is like, what's the matter, you're burning? And then that's what it does on the song. Dun, 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 like, stepped on my house, what's the matter, you're burning, or something. So it's funny, that's the first thing that popped in my head. I was like, oh wow, like, all the things that could go wrong, right? Like, obviously but spiritually is even worse, right? The things that she was probably carrying that would attach themselves to me would have probably just messed me up, send me on a windfall spiral, right? Like when everything's going good. But then even that, on the physical aspects, like a disease, this and that, all these things that could happen, right? So, it's funny, on the tarot card, right? Like the devil, and it's the opposite of the Gemini, right? On that one, it's two people chained up to the devil. On the Gemini card, it's two people, like, looks almost like the Garden of Eden type thing, and then there's an angel above, and it's the 6, and then on that one it's the 15, but 1 and 5 adds up to 6, so it's still 6. So it's funny even that, because I've explained how different things in my life have like the tarot speaks to me. It's weird. Without even, even before I knew what a tarot card was, like my life has already shown up in tarot things, right? Like that, like the girl being a Capricorn, and that's the devil, right? And then me being a Gemini, which is supposed to be like the lovers, the kind of, not that we're all holy and stuff, but yeah, it's like a more positive card, actually. So all that, right? So it was clear I was being tested. All that to say, it was clear I was being tested, right? It was a test. I was in a good headspace. The condor, in some cards too, they use the vulture to represent death and rebirth. The condor also represented like I guess I was going through some kind of transition, death and rebirth, right? But the condor is like the biggest bird, right? So it's like, I guess it's part of the vulture family. So it's like super death and rebirth, right? Super cleansing stuff. So it was like I think, because I've been warned before, and it's always like, I've been warned I've been on the way. I made if you see the Let's Talk About Sex podcast, which was number 4, I go into it, like how deep the things that I've faced when dealing with, like, when dealing with certain women, right? But I've been tested before where, I got warnings on the way to a girl's house. I talked about that, how lights were turning off, trying to warn me, like, hey, don't. I passed that test. I remember even dealing with this girl that, I had gave her something, right? I gave her like a gift, right? And when I gave her that gift and I handed it to her, I think as we both touched it, I got the worst feeling in my stomach. Like if someone, like, just horrible. I almost wanted to ask for the thing back, right? Like, because I gave her something that was something spiritual, right? It was like a sacred thing, but it was a gift. Like, because I was dealing with her, so. But it was like, even though my eyes were blind as to what was going on with this girl, you can't fool the spiritual, right? And so when I handed her that, I knew instantly. I was like, and of course it ended after, right? Like it was, I started having dreams and all this stuff. But when I handed her that necklace thing that I gave her, like a gift, yeah, I instantly felt it. So that was a huge warning, right? So I'll get warnings like that. And so yeah, that was good. I was spared from, maybe things would have gone way worse with this person. I mean, no one wants to lose out on money, right? But if you think about it in the long run, I'd rather learn like that than, get involved with somebody and things end up way worse, right? So all that, to say that, like I wasn't really tested, but in a way, yeah, like, because I was already in that headspace. So it's kind of like they say, like, God won't give you nothing you can't handle. So, it was enough to know that I could resist that. But even that, like, thinking, like, I don't drink or nothing. So, if I would have, maybe, like, if I was someone that drank, I would probably be buzzed and be like, you know what, screw it, boom. So different things in my life allow me to resist that kind of temptation, right? But it was they really planned it out good, right? Like, it was like, the devil card, like all this stuff, someone that I found extremely attractive, all all this stuff. So, it was just interesting, right? So I just say that to say that you will be tested. It's not, obviously they'll find something that you like I said, it was a perfect storm, right? I hadn't exactly been with anyone like in 3 years. I hadn't, all that stuff. And so it was interesting, right? What else was I gonna say about that? So no, it was just a lot of that, right? It was really interesting, right? I feel like I passed the test, like I was good with that. Thankfully, I set myself up for success. Like I told someone that understood the spirit world and all the tests that we go through. It reminded me. Sometimes people don't understand. Like for example, I remember I had this ex-girlfriend, right? And I had the MySpace, and I had like 45,000 people on the MySpace. So I learned early on that it does matter. Like people, especially back then. I don't know. Maybe I'm not supposed to talk about that because my dog's barking. But anyway, I'll just say it real quick. So anyways, I had like 45,000 people. So, yeah, like I even, like, there were girls that would hit me up because of that. Because of the MySpace, right? Like, hey, my dog's barking. Man, I'm not supposed to talk about this one. All right, so I'll save the story for another time. So yeah, I just wanted to share that, like, on my birthday, right? Like, I was tested. It was crazy. I would have never expected that. Never in a million years that someone was going to hit me up and solicit me for sex, right? Like, that was so random, so out the blue. That, yeah,
I said, don't worry. No, no, no. I said, don't worry. You ain't got to do this alone. I said, don't worry. You don't got to do this alone. I seen this man walking down the street. You know that place where we all meet. I asked him why the frown. He told me I've been down. Well, maybe we can work to turn this around, yeah. Cause this life gets hard sometimes. But baby, by my grind. I told him I walk with God. And even though it gets hard, I'll never quit until the day that I'm gone. So don't worry, you ain't got to do this alone. So maybe we can change our home, the way we treat our family and friends. Well, baby, I'm saying it again. You ain't got to do this alone. So maybe we can change our home, the way we treat our family and friends. Well, baby, I'm saying it again. Express it verbally, urgently. This insurgency is not slowly infecting and spreading like it was mainstream. It's not a dream, I seen the screen. Advertisement, Joe machines, deadly food that's cancerous and ravenous up in our bloodstreams. That money green is all we see, cause that's what they put in our memories. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. And I wanna feel this way forever.